Hello, everybody.
Okay. Well, sorry, John. Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm not gonna be on stage. Y'all wanted it. Y'all requested it. Everybody, the ladies and men, but everybody wanted it, and we've got the best two voices on YouTube, and they are here. I just wanted to say thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this channel. It's really needed, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, so let's make our voices heard. I will be back when the two amigos down here are done. See y'all soon. We'll be chatting in the chat.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Mental Health Matters. I'm John Derian, aka Town John, and this handsome gentleman sitting next to me is Ben Turner, aka BenBaconBits. And tonight we're going to talk about one of Keela's favorite life-changing books, The 4 Agreements, a practical guide to personal freedom. So, while we're waiting for people to come in, we'll say some hellos. Hello, Brazy. Hello,
Barbie.
Freak. Barbie, Marie Rassico, our dear Canadian friends.
Nicole
Luongo, hello.
Let's see here. Turn the noise gate off. Here we go. Where is it?
Awake Ned by the looking glass reflection in the house. Hey, Awake Ned, nice to see you.
Sorry, that's Tara. Long story.
Oh, okay. So that was you earlier.
yeah, it was me. I was trying to convince you.
Encarnasoul, hello. Mish, our dear friend. Nico Yeg, our new Edmonton Scientologist. Alfila?
Lord, I guess you already got Lord.
Yeah, we got him. Let's see, who else we got here?
Oh, he deserves to be mentioned twice.
Sure. Oh, Nico, thanks for that. She says, love these gentlemen. Excuse me. All right, so looks like we've got enough people in here, so we can get going. So imagine waking up one day and realizing that almost everything you believe about yourself and the world is a lie. That your fears, insecurities, and limitations are not actually yours, but something you were trained to accept. What if you could break free from all that simply by following 4 powerful agreements? Today, we're going to be discussing Don Miguel Ruiz's life-changing book, The 4 Agreements, a practical guide to personal freedom. By the end of this discussion, you will have the tools to rewrite your reality and unlock true happiness. Stay with us. This could honestly change your life. Much of what we believe about ourselves and the world has been shaped by others, parents, teachers, society, and past experiences. But what if you could break free from these limitations and create a new reality? Well, that's exactly what Don Miguel Ruiz offers in the 4 Agreements. Ruiz is a spiritual teacher and a descendant of the ancient Toltec wisdom, a tradition of knowledge passed down through generations in Mexico. An important note about the Toltecs is that they actually predate the Aztecs. So it's a very, very ancient civilization. The Toltecs were known as men and women of knowledge, and their teachings focused on personal transformation and enlightenment instead of rigid rules or religious dogma. Their wisdom is a guide for living authentically and breaking free from societal conditioning. Ruiz argues that from birth, we are domesticated, taught how to think, behave, and perceive the world. We inherit beliefs, many of which are based on fear and limitation. These beliefs become agreements that we unconsciously make with ourselves. I'm not good enough. I have to seek approval. Or I can't change my circumstances. But what if we could replace those old agreements with new, empowering ones? That's where the 4 agreements come in. Each agreement is a simple but profound rule for how to live a free, fulfilling, and joyful life. Let's dive into the first agreement, which lays the foundation for everything else. Excuse me. The first agreement. Be impeccable with your word.
Mm.
Words are powerful. They shape our reality, influence our emotions, and define our relationships. The first agreement, be impeccable with your word, is about recognizing this power and using it wisely. To be impeccable means to be without sin, specifically without sin against yourself. It means speaking with integrity, honesty, and kindness. Words can uplift, inspire, and heal, but they can also wound, destroy, and imprison us. When we use our words carelessly, whether through gossip, that sounds familiar, negative self-talk, or hurtful comments, we create a reality filled with suffering. Think about the times when words have deeply affected you. Maybe somebody told you as a child that you weren't talented or even smart. Even if it wasn't true, that belief may have shaped your life for years. The words we hear and say become agreements in our minds. If we accept negative words as truth, they become self-fulfilling prophecies. On the flip side, consider the impact of positive words. A single compliment or word of encouragement can change someone's entire day or even their life. When you choose to be impeccable with your word, you stop spreading negativity and start using language to uplift yourself and others. Ruiz warns about the dangers of gossip, calling it black magic. When we speak negatively about others, we spread emotional poison. Gossip fuels misunderstandings, creates unnecessary conflict, and damages trust. Instead, we should use our words to spread truth, love, and positivity. But being impeccable with your word isn't just about what you say to yourself. Many of us are our own harshest critics. We tell ourselves that we aren't good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. If we truly want to be free, we have to break this cycle of negative self-talk and replace it with words of self-love and encouragement. When you practice this agreement, you'll notice a shift in your life. Your relationships will improve, your confidence will grow, and you will feel more peace. Words are tools of creation. Use them wisely, and you will build a life of joy, freedom, and authenticity. Now, there's that first one really hit me, Ben, because a lot of power in words. And,
Yeah.
you and I have both been former members of communities where this very thing was the undoing of these communities. Gossip and negative speaking, and it's just, and I'm sure people here in the chat can also relate to a lot of this. And not only things that we say, I think what's important here is that not only things that we say about other people, but things that we say to ourselves.
Sure.
That really
Yeah.
hit me. I mean, many of us can be our own harshest critics. I mean, I've been guilty of it. I know you probably have at one time or another as well. I just wonder if anybody in the chat has any kind of comments about that and how that self-negativity can probably hurt you more than the things that other people say about you, just from being our own worst critics.
And 80% of self-talk is negative. That's a
Yeah.
general rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be absolutely something that's really hard to get a rein in on. And a lot of times we spend time reinforcing negative beliefs about ourselves to
Right.
where, it gets embedded in the deep part of the emotional brain that can't speak English.
Yeah,
And
and one of the things that Ruiz talks about, and I just touched on it briefly, was he said something about, well, the black magic thing jumped out at me, but he also said that we are domesticated from birth. And he does use the example, we're domesticated just like animals.
Yeah.
We're taught that positive behaviors are rewarded Negative behaviors are punished. And we actually, as we get older, we brace ourselves for the punishment because we're so conditioned to it that we almost, if it doesn't come, we kind of feel the need to punish ourselves,
Mhm.
that was really profound when I read that. It really
Yeah,
jumped out at me.
that is where the expression everybody's a product of childhood suffering and reward, and that is what shapes us. We
Yeah.
will generally seek to, get more reward,
Mm-hmm.
and it absolutely is what shapes us. Our parents, society at large, whatever values of the local tribe that you're in, or what other tribes. If you're in sports, if you're in
Mm-hmm.
band, whatever, you will adopt those beliefs to some extent.
Yeah, and I even think that the self negativity that we put ourselves through, excuse me, I think about my father in particular. My father was very hard on me and was always saying negative things to me.
Mhm.
And now he's been gone, 30 years. And I still find myself saying those very same things to myself. It's almost like he conditioned me so well to think that of myself that I still to this day catch myself doing it,
Yeah,
even though he's been gone forever.
sure. Yeah, and it
It's
also,
amazing how that
yeah.
conditioning, how that domestication stays with you.
Oh yeah, and it especially negative talking bad about yourself out loud. That's actually a defense mechanism too. We do that oftentimes, or not everybody, but
Mhm.
most people wind up doing that to deflect criticism from outside. If I beat myself up,
Then no one else
then
will have the chance.
because
Yeah,
I realize I'm doing it. And there's been nations that have done that. But
sure.
yeah, that is definitely a defense mechanism. One of the
Mhm.
things that stuck out to me is how he talks about everybody wears a mask wearing,
Yeah.
and that's like the third law of human behavior. Everybody wears a mask. We all
Mhm.
and the fourth law, we all pretend we don't. But
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. And even I would say in the YouTube space,
oh yeah,
in the social media space, I think it's even
oh yeah,
more profound
oh yeah.
because you can hide behind a handle. You
Hmm.
can be anybody you want.
Yeah,
And I think there's a lot of that goes on too. And we think we know somebody and you find out you didn't know anything about that person.
yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. And you also have a little bit of an anonymity there, but
yeah.
you have several things at work there. You're having a need to put up a false front, and that is one of the things why so many people are now saying social media is almost antisocial, because you're comparing your inner insecurities, which you know about,
Hmm.
to everybody else's outward appearance, which we know are a mask. So you
Right.
talk about a mismatch.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody said to me not too long ago that YouTube is a social experiment that went horribly wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I would, my counter to that would be there's a lot of positive stuff on YouTube too. Don't focus only on
Mhm.
the negative. But yeah, I can
Yeah.
see where these and Keela, plug your ears. I can see where these parasocial relationships can
Mhm.
can exacerbate that situation because like I said, you don't really know people. I mean, all you know is the front that they put or the mask that they wear.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it becomes even easier to pull that off.
Sure. Yeah, and
Um,
that is incredibly. You saw that back in the days of television. But
mhm.
not rock bands, musicians have this issue where Neil Peart wrote about it constantly, how people would say, "Oh, I agree with your lyrics, therefore I know you." And it's like, you know
Right,
nothing about him, you know?
right,
And it's
exactly.
just something because identify with something, we identify with this outward false front. Outward
What was
projection.
that line in Limelight, Ben? You can't pretend that an acquaintance is a long lost friend or something like that.
Oh yeah,
He was speaking exactly to that.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and that's it. We like to do that because we have our tribe, and
Right.
there was a study done. There's some discussion about the accuracy of it, but I still hold by it. Whether or not somebody negative holds to it or not doesn't change that.
Mhm.
That you're the product of the nearest of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That
Mm.
includes online. And
Mhm.
you will adopt behavior. If you just watch somebody constantly, you will start to adopt behaviors, ways of speaking, other, things like that from people you even watch. The problem is that you're not seeing, well, by and large, most people are not going to come out here without a mask. And there's a reason for that. I mean, what's the alternative?
Well,
Come out and you
part of it's a
overshare.
defense
Yeah,
mechanism.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, we do need masks to some extent. It's just how much and things like
Mhm.
that. But you obviously don't want to come on here and talk about. Uh, I had a friend that would do this. Um, he'd get a call from a telemarketer. Tell me, Mr. Coxworth, how are you doing today? Well, I tell you, I have this problem with my foot. I got a corn on my foot, and I got this big wart on my hand, and I got something that's on my hind. And he would just, but most people, you don't want to go doing
Yeah, that'll work with a telemarketer, but not many others. For sure. All right. Well, that kind of leads us into the second agreement, which is
that.
don't take anything personally. Now, this is another interesting one. This might be one of the hardest to follow, but it's also one of the most liberating. Ruiz
Mm-hmm.
explains that nothing others do is because of you. Everything they say or do is a reflection of their own reality, their own beliefs, and their own emotions. In other words, it's not always about you. A lot of times we take that for granted. When you take things personally, you give away your power and allow others to control your emotions.
Hmm.
Think about how much stress, anger, or sadness you've experienced simply because of someone else's words or actions. Someone insults you, ignores you, or treats you unfairly, and suddenly you feel hurt or offended. But what if their behavior had nothing to do with you? What if it was just a reflection of their own struggles, fears, and perceptions? For example, imagine you're walking down the street and a stranger calls you stupid. If you take it personally, you might feel offended, question your intelligence, or carry that negativity with you all day. But if you remind yourself that their words are about them and not you,
Mm.
their insult loses its power. Maybe you're having a bad day. Or, I'm sorry, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they were raised in a critical environment. Or maybe they're just projecting their own insecurities onto you.
Mhm.
Whatever the reason, it has nothing to do with you. Ruiz calls this concept personal importance and warns that it's a form of selfishness. When we assume that everything is about us, we make ourselves the center of the universe. But the truth is that people are living in their own worlds, shaped by their experiences,
Mhm.
beliefs, and emotions, just like we are.
Mhm.
When they act a certain way, they're responding to their reality, not ours. This agreement also applies to praise. If someone tells you that you're the best person they've ever met, it's still just their opinion. If you base your self worth on external validation, you become vulnerable to both criticism and praise.
Mhm.
True freedom comes when you stop seeking approval from others and start trusting your own value. One of the most powerful benefits of this agreement is emotional immunity. When you stop taking things personally, you become untouchable. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself, argue, or prove anything to anyone. You free yourself from the emotional ups and downs caused by other people's opinions. Of course, practicing this agreement isn't easy. We've been conditioned to react emotionally to what others say and do, but with awareness and practice, you can learn to detach and remain at peace, regardless of how others behave. Just imagine how much lighter your life would feel if you didn't take criticism, rejection, or even compliments personally. You'd be free from unnecessary pain and able to focus on what truly matters, your own growth, happiness, and purpose. By mastering this agreement, you gain control over your emotion and reclaim your power. And that is the true path to personal freedom. Now, this one is another one. It sounds easy,
Mhm.
but
Oh, yeah.
in practice, I imagine that this one would take a really, really long time, because who among us doesn't take criticism badly?
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, I had a hard time.
Mm.
I have a hard time even accepting constructive criticism,
Yeah.
because I think that sometimes people will criticize you under the guise of being constructive, but
Mhm.
really, really they have a hidden agenda. And it's really tough. I find it really tough to not let
Mhm.
things like that bother me.
Mhm.
And and I feel uncomfortable even with the praise thing. I have to admit, I'm one of those too. I don't know how you feel about it, but you and I are constantly told how we've got these great voices and we're, perfect for YouTube and we're this and we're that. And honestly, and not to say anything against anybody in the community, we love you guys to death, but it makes me feel weird sometimes. It really does. It makes me
Mm.
actually uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because and it starts the self-doubt in my own mind, because I think to myself, I can't live up to this image that people have in their mind of who I am or what I
Mm.
am. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the more people compliment me, the more conditioned I am to say, "Oh my God, I can't live up to this. I can't be what everyone thinks that I am,"
Mm.
And it's scary, and it
Mhm.
really bothers me sometimes.
Mm.
But, that's again, it goes back to that conditioning.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Mhm.
One of the issues is that, well, first off, right off the bat, approval is one of the three primary social. This is a weird list, but of the primary social needs, you have significance, approval, and acceptance. So
Mm.
approval is, one third, well,
Are
roughly
you gonna
one
go
third.
you gonna go all Maslow on me?
I could.
Maslow's
Um,
hierarchy of needs? Well, I'm an
yeah,
HR professional, brother. I know it inside and out.
yeah, it's used it's becoming used more and more.
Sure.
It was seen originally for a long time. It was just seen as psychobabble.
Well, it
But yeah,
explains human nature. I mean,
yeah, yeah. It very well. I don't probably don't need to go in explaining it. I imagine probably most people have a pretty good lock on it. What was interesting though, when you were talking about insults, does feed what we know about people. Oftentimes, when people try to insult you, they
mhm.
will use terminology that would hurt them. So actually what they're doing is they're showing you what it is they're feeding off
Yeah, it's
of.
self-reflection. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, that's pretty darn valid. Um,
Mhm.
and I've gotten some emails about, well, I've gotten one email, and I won't say from who, but it was very telling. It was very interesting. I shared it with my friends in the neuroscience community, and we were having a different level discussion on it because we found it interesting. Of course, most of my friends said, "That's all he's got." Like, yeah, but
Mhm.
it was after the death of my mother, and it had read. It was like 3 days after the death of my mother, and does your what was it? Your mother died knowing what a disappointment you are, and you know. To a lot of people, that may be like, "Oh, that hurts," but
Yeah.
the thing is that once you reach a point, you realize that, you know what? There's a lot of things that my mother had for me planned out that were a disappointment. She wanted me to be a missionary. She wanted me to be this. She wanted me to
Mhm.
get into medicine. It's like, no, I'm not going to run track for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. No,
Right.
I'm going to play. I want to play drums. I don't want to play horn.
That's
Come
right.
on.
I want to be Neil.
So,
damn it.
but the part of it that I find interesting is the overwhelming need this person displayed that they had to have their parents' approval. It's
Mhm.
like, that's an interesting window, and there's a lot there, but I just found it interesting. Is like, why is somebody else's approval more important, overriding your own?
Because
You know,
that's
and
how we're
I've
programmed.
well,
I
yeah,
spent my
and
whole life trying to impress my father, and it never happened. And
mhm,
one day I just had to come to the realization that
mhm,
it's never ever going to happen. You have to make
yeah,
yourself happy.
yeah,
And once I did, that changed things for me. But okay,
it took.
I got to pop this up. And Carnosol's going all Peter Gabriel on us. One of my favorite Peter Gabriel songs too, "Secret World." I love that. Thank you for that, Incarnasol.
Yeah,
All right.
A lot of people don't realize that Salisbury Hills in 7/8 time.
Mm-hmm. I want to pop this up too because I didn't see Wounds to Wisdom, Teresa, in the chat, so I don't know if she's here. But I did want to give a big kudos to her because she did do a show last week, kind of introducing this book a little bit, and
Okay.
we're digging a little deeper into it. This,
Mm,
for those of you who don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so all of the channels that you frequent, many of them are going to be talking about this kind of stuff. So I didn't want anybody to think that we what happened here? That was weird. Is Keela back there messing with stuff again? There we go. How's that? Hands off, Keela. We're running this shit tonight. God love her. She's waving her hands in the background. It's not me. It's not me. Well, hi, Deb. Deb from Doing It Deb's Way is here.
mm,
Welcome, welcome. All right. Well, let's get into the third one so we're not all night here. The third
okay.
agreement is don't make assumptions. Have you ever misinterpreted a situation, assumed something negative, and later realized you were completely wrong? How many times have misunderstandings caused unnecessary conflict or emotional pain? That's the danger of making assumptions. As humans, we naturally seek to understand the world around us, but instead of asking for clarity, we often fill in the gaps with our own assumptions. We assume we know what others are thinking, what they mean by their words, and why they act the way they do. The problem, more often than not, is that our assumptions are incorrect, leading to unnecessary suffering. Think about a time you assumed someone was ignoring you. Maybe a friend didn't text you back and you immediately thought, they must be mad at me. Or maybe they don't care about our friendship anymore. Hours or days later, you finally hear from them and they tell you they were just busy. Suddenly, all that stress and worry seem pointless. This is how assumptions create unnecessary emotional pain. Assumptions don't just cause personal stress, they create conflict in relationships. A husband assumes his wife is upset with him because she's quiet at dinner, so he becomes defensive. In reality, she's just tired from a long day at work. A manager assumes an employee isn't dedicated to the job because they didn't volunteer for an extra project, when in reality, the employee is struggling with personal issues. These misunderstandings can damage trust, cause arguments, and even break relationships. Ruiz teaches us a simple but powerful solution. Ask questions instead of jumping to conclusions. Seek clarity if you're unsure about someone's intentions. Ask them directly if you don't understand something, and don't guess. Ask for an explanation. Clear communication is the antidote to assumptions. That's actually worth repeating. Clear communication is the antidote to assumptions. I like that. This agreement also applies to how we see ourselves. Many people assume they're not good enough, that others secretly dislike them, or that they're destined to fail. These assumptions are often based on fear and self-doubt rather than reality. By challenging these false beliefs and replacing them with truth, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. When you stop making assumptions, you begin to see the world more clearly.
Mhm.
You no longer waste energy worrying about things that aren't true. You improve your relationships by communicating openly, and most importantly, you develop inner peace knowing that you are responding to reality rather than imagined fears.
Mhm.
Now, this is a big one for me because I find myself in situations like this often.
Mhm.
I was in a situation like this with a dear friend recently, and I think we were both making assumptions about the relationship, and it almost ended badly because
Mhm.
I think both of
Mhm.
us were filling in the gaps, as
Mhm.
Ruiz mentions. We were filling in the gaps with our own realities or our
Mhm.
own perceived realities.
Mhm.
And when we finally got together and talked about it, we both felt kind of ridiculous because come to find out, neither one of us was anywhere near the mark. And
Mhm.
we were just filling ourselves with stress and hurt over something that a simple conversation could have fixed in 5 minutes. And I think again, and I hate to keep going back um, to these online relationships, but it's probably the most extreme example of a
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. And that's why I keep going back to it because it just seems like in a relationship where you don't talk like one to one,
Mhm.
like a lot of us communicate on Facebook Messenger. Okay. And Facebook Messenger can be a great tool, but also it can lead to these confusions because, like, I'll send a voice chat to you and you'll
Mhm.
listen to it. And then a couple minutes later, you'll send one back to me. Not really the same as an actual conversation, or even if we're
Mhm.
just texting each other back and forth.
Mhm.
There's a lot that can be missed in translation there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it happens so often where we're having a conversation with somebody and or an instance where, say, you're talking to one person and maybe English isn't their first language. And so there's even more confusion that can happen in a text thread
Mm.
or in a short voice clip
Mhm.
that I think it's really, really important that when those instances happen, that you get clarity
Mhm.
instead of trying to fill in the gaps. Because yeah, I don't know about you, but I am not good at filling in the gaps. I always get
Mhm.
it wrong.
Mhm.
And it seems like you create this level of stress that is really unnecessary. Like I said, a 5-minute conversation could solve these problems.
Yeah.
So, and I think
Oh,
all of us are guilty of it at one time or another. I mean, it's
oh,
impossible
yeah.
not to be.
Well, yeah, and as the as the self-proclaimed god of typos, as I am, because that is my rightful position, I can tell you, yeah,
You are the king.
for firsthand,
can
yeah,
I
text
can confirm.
conversations, there is so much that is lost. You know, you can say things. Thinking of, I don't know why I keep thinking of one of my drummer or one of my drumming influences. He came up after somebody played the drums one time and was saying, "Do you think you could have hit them any harder?" And you know, that sounds like an insult, but he looked at the, you know, they looked at each other. You could tell he's obviously meant it jest, kind of smiling at him. But something as simple as that can be taken a multitude of ways.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and you can't read tone.
Right.
Oftentimes, um, yeah, satire, you know, jokes and things like that get lost.
Hmm.
And depression doubles a lot of what you were talking about earlier. There's something in depression where you will have a negative, what was it called? Negative interpretation of ambiguous events. You go in, say, you know, you're going into work. You run
Hmm.
into somebody, they normally say hi to you, but this day, you say hi to them, they just smile and walk on by.
Mm-hmm.
If you're depressed, you will not take that as ambiguous. You will assign that as a negative. That person must be thinking something bad about me.
They hate me.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be depressed to do that.
Mm-mm.
Excuse me. You don't have to be depressed to do that either. I mean, some of us are pretty good at inventing little stories, and then you start spinning, going into the downward spiral, and this and that. And in fact, oftentimes it's something like, I didn't hear you. That's true in
Mm-hmm.
my case because living next to a bass amp on stage, no hardly any hearing left, much less a sinus infection. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot I don't hear. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot other people don't hear. We think we say things loud enough. Maybe one of my favorite excuses, my hearing aids are Bluetooth, so I can talk to myself. And people think I'm talking on the phone. Love that one. But I mean, the point being that with Bluetooth now, that's a thing. He could be
Yeah.
listening to something. He could have a song repeating in his head, or he could be saying something like, okay, I need to remember. Okay, check this database, do this, do this. He could be going over a long list in his head. Got to remember to do
Mm-hmm.
this. Got to remember to do this.
Yeah.
You never know. So yeah, but it's something we do by default.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I wish it wasn't that common, but yeah, and
Right.
I feel everybody's paying on that because I know I'm bad to do that myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it takes a lot for us. Excuse me. It takes a lot for us to admit to ourselves how deeply programmed we really are.
Oh yeah.
And, we all love to think that we're independent thinkers and, this, that, and the other thing. But when the rubber hits the road and you really start to think about it, you're like, wow, what have the influences in my life been
Mhm,
that led
mhm,
me to the way I think right now?
mhm.
And when you do that, I think you start to really realize how ingrained it is,
Oh yeah.
from birth. We're all
Oh yeah.
programmed. And
Yeah. This
then,
this. Oh yeah.
oh, go
And
ahead.
then yeah, the thing is, it runs deep too. I mean, and not
Mhm.
a good example. The best part of waking up is fold. There, at least people who lived in the '80s know that.
Uh-huh.
Um, things like that.
We're dating ourselves, but okay. All right. And that kind of leads us into the fourth agreement, which ties it all together. And the fourth agreement is always do your best.
Mhm,
Now, this final agreement brings everything together and is the key to making the first three agreements work in your life. It ensures that no matter what happens, you can live without regret, guilt, or self judgment. But here's the important part: your best is not always the same. Your best today might not be the same as your best yesterday or tomorrow. Some days you're full of energy and your best is working hard, achieving goals, and being productive. Other days you might be tired, sick, or emotionally drained, and your best might simply be showing up and trying.
mhm,
The key is to accept that your best changes from moment to moment and to give yourself grace.
mhm,
Ruiz warns that many people fall into two dangerous traps: perfectionism and self judgment. Some
mhm,
people push themselves too hard, believing they must always perform at the highest level. Excuse me. And I'm guilty of this.
mhm,
When they fall short, they criticize themselves, feeling like failures.
mhm,
Others don't try at all because they fear they won't be good enough. Both mindsets lead to suffering. The beauty of this agreement is that it removes both of these traps. If you do your best, you could be at peace, knowing you gave your full effort with the energy you had at that moment.
mhm,
There's no room for regret because you know you did all you could. There's no need for comparison because your best is unique to you.
mhm,
Think about an athlete training for a marathon. Some days they feel strong and run their fastest times. Other days they struggle and barely complete their training. But as long as they show up and do their best, they're making progress. Life works the same way. As long as you give your best effort with love, honesty, and integrity, you're on the right path. And this agreement also helps with the first three. When you are impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, and don't make assumptions, doing your best ensures that you apply these principles consistently. Some days you may slip up. You might say something unkind, react emotionally, or make an assumption. But as long as you are trying your best to improve, you stop living in fear of failure. You accept where you are while striving to be better. And in doing so, you create a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfilling. That is, I think, again, I mean, I can put myself into each one of these in one way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
But this one I think rings most true for me. And that is that I have this false sense of what doing your best looks like.
Mhm.
And I think that comes from a place of um, always striving for perfection. And, that's always been ingrained in me my entire life. Always strive to be perfect. Always strive for zero defects,
Mhm.
kind of deal. And I think that that's an unrealistic bar
Yeah.
for people to try to reach
Sure.
because, and this really speaks to me. Always do your best
Mhm.
for how you're feeling. So if it's a moving target, then that makes a lot more sense because as long as you're doing the best that you can do in that moment,
Yeah.
that should be enough.
Yeah.
But I think so often that we set the bar so high that
Yeah.
we couldn't clear it if we tried. I mean, even if
Yeah.
we were at our best, we couldn't clear it. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And so I think that this one rings the most true for me because if I start to think about it like that, like I did the best I could today.
Mhm. Mhm.
Tomorrow I'm going to strive to do better, but it all depends on how I feel and how life is, treating me. But as
Mhm.
long as I know that I've done the best I could in that moment, I can be happy with myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, wow, I think it's profound. I mean, I read that section several times because it was just so true for me,
Mhm.
that it made a lot of sense. I just wonder what people in the chat think about that, about what does doing your best mean to you? I mean,
Mhm.
does it mean that, you did your best based on how you felt that day? Or are you like me and you have this bar that is artificially set way too high that you can
Mhm.
never seem to clear? I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
curious what everybody
Yeah.
thinks about
That
that.
that one you have to be careful with because if you set unrealistic expectations, you're kind of creating a mind virus for yourself.
Mhm.
You know, I did, and it takes a lot to look at past failures and realize, you know what, I did the best I could with the information I had. Now it's
Mhm.
very easy to go back and now knowing hindsight's 2020 and all to look back and that was stupid, but
Mhm.
we we oftentimes don't go back and review what was the situation then. And that is one thing about always doing your best, your personal integrity, what do you do at night when nobody's watching, that being what integrity is.
Yeah.
Um, and it's at night before you go to sleep, right before you go to sleep is a prime time
Mhm.
because your body's starting to wind down. You're naturally almost in a state of trance. What you
Mhm.
can do is just think back something you did well today and
Yeah.
just just go back and say, you know what? Um, I know how to create more of this because you do.
Mhm.
And as you repeat that, it's a couple times, it will become, it's a little easier when you're near trance state, going to sleep. And first thing when you wake up before your feet hit the floor are two
Mhm.
great opportunities. Your mind is naturally relaxed. You still got a little bit of that theta going on. As children, we naturally learn in theta waves. As we get older, we start learning in beta, which Yeah, that's got issues. But the thing is that we oftentimes the child that's a lot of the reason why childhood experiences stick with us much
Mhm.
longer than later ones.
Yeah.
But if you before you go to sleep tonight, um, just simply if you can't, and I guarantee you, everybody can think of something they did right today, and just say, "I know." It doesn't matter what it was.
Mhm.
Just say, "I know how to create more of this." Yeah, and you can tell yourself, and this is interesting. If you talk to yourself in the third person, a
Mhm.
lot of times we think that's a sign of insanity. But and maybe that's still open for debate. But no, what can happen a lot of times when we talk to ourselves in the third person,
Mhm.
it activates the inner coaching mode, and it becomes more instead of saying, "I did well today." If you say, "You did well today, John,"
Mhm.
it externalizes it, even
Yeah.
though we know it's us that's saying it.
Mhm.
But it'll activate that inner coaching mode and can help build confidence in whatever it
Hmm.
is that we're talking about. And
That's interesting.
yeah, and you always keep in mind things like imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Imposter syndrome is more common in people who are high achievers.
Oh, yeah.
So people who are well recognized in their fields, they have it worse than amateur. So yeah, realize that imposter syndrome is incredibly common.
Mhm.
You're not going through it because, oh no, you don't understand. I'm really not enough. No, everybody has those feelings. Just
Mhm.
realize that and say to yourself, you know what? Yeah, I did this right. My brain knows how to do more of this because it does.
Right. Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not about setting up an unrealistic expectation. I think we all know perfect isn't for real.
Mhm.
Um, and just acknowledge that and not expect that level for ourselves because yeah, we're flesh and blood. We make errors. Um, you know, Spill quality with a capital K. Things
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I'll give you a good as an HR professional, I'll give you a good example.
Mhm,
One of the comments that I often get when I do employee evaluations
mhm.
is,
Oh,
"Why did you feel that I didn't deserve a 5?" So, for those of you who don't know, most,
mhm,
at least in the corporate world, most performance evaluations are based on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is obviously bad, 5 is the best that you can possibly be. You're basically a rock star. And my answer has always been the same because if I give you all 5s, that means that you don't have any room for improvement.
mm,
That means that you are already the best that you can possibly be. And I think most of us know that that's not possible. If
mm,
you are absolutely the best that you can possibly be, you have no room for improvement.
mhm.
Where do you go from there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And so
those.
what happens is you begin to rest on your laurels and you think, well, I'm perfection personified and I don't need to be any better because I'm the man, you know?
Mm, yeah.
And what happens is you end up backsliding
Mhm,
and
mhm,
your performance starts to slip. And then the next time you're going to get a worse evaluation. So I always tell people I don't believe in 5s because in order to achieve a 5, that is the pinnacle, and there's nowhere to go from there. You can't go up, you can
mhm,
only go down. So I'm a firm believer in 3s and 4s, and with a lot of discussion about the why. So here's how
mhm,
I look at it. I gave you a 4 because you do above and beyond, you do a great job, but we always have room for improvement.
mhm,
And once I explain it that way, it becomes a little more manageable, with them because people are their default position is to be back on their heels and be offended by that.
mm.
So, what's Keelis saying?
Those.
Keelis says, John, stop copying my way of evaluations. Well, I mean, anybody who's worth their salt in human resources, I think would tell you that. And I do know some HR professionals and some managers as well that will just give people 5s across the board. And I'm like, you're setting your people up for failure because you're telling them that they are the best that they can possibly be. And I don't believe that. I have a bachelor's degree in training and development. I have a master's degree in human resource administration. And I don't consider myself to be an expert on anything. I may be considered a subject matter expert, is a term we like to throw around a lot. But when I get evaluations from my supervisor, I don't get 5s. And even if I did, I think I would be more offended by that than an honest evaluation, to be honest with you. Maybe that's just how my crazy ass works, but
I'm kind of interested though. Do you have where you work? You being in HR would have a unique position with this. Do people do self evaluations where you work?
Now at a place that I used to work, we did what was known as a 360 evaluation. And a 360 evaluation is the employee evaluates themselves, the supervisor evaluates the employee, and the employee evaluates the supervisor.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a full
That's
360 process. So you can get some people think that you get a much better picture if the supervisor is evaluating the employee and the employee in turn is evaluating the supervisor. There can be good feedback from that, but it's generally been my experience that one-to-one evaluations tend to work better. So in our current system, the way it works now is that the employee does a self-evaluation. They submit that to their direct supervisor. Their direct supervisor reviews it and then lets them know if there are any things that they should add, or because part of the self-evaluation is to give yourself goals for the next evaluation. So, and we like them to give themselves between 3 and 5 goals of things they want to accomplish. And then the supervisor comes in and says, okay, I looked at your self-evaluation. And on that self-evaluation, they do grade themselves 1 to 5. And then the supervisor comes in after reviewing that and does their own evaluation. And then when you sit down to do the wrap up or whatever, you look at the numbers that the employee gave themselves compared to the numbers that you gave them. And then you discuss. And basically what I try to do is I try to ask the employee before we talk about my rating, why did you feel that you deserved that number? And then they explain it. And there have been times in evaluations, Ben, I'll be completely honest, where I thought that I was very thoughtful and considerate in my rating, and the employee changes my mind because they, when I ask them why they rated themselves this way, they will bring up something that they did, maybe an additional project that they volunteered for, or something that I had completely forgotten about. And it will make me in the moment change my rating. I've been known to do that. And I think that employees respect that because you're proving that you're not closed-minded, that you're not saying that this is my rating, I'm not changing it, like it or lump it. And yeah, it can be an interesting.
I'm just curious if you notice that most people tend to be most harshest on themselves in those.
Now, okay, we're getting into a slippery slope territory here, but I'll try to be as PC as I can. I will say, and I think you know where I'm going with this by the way you're laughing, it's a generational thing. It is my experience that baby boomers, Gen Xers like us, and even to a degree millennials, tend to be more critical of themselves than their supervisors. My supervisor has come straight out and told me that before, that why are you so hard on yourself? And I say, because I feel that I have a lot of room to grow. And in order for me to feel like I'm the perfect employee or as close to perfect as I can get, that I need to reach a certain level.
Mhm.
And he's told me on more than one occasion, don't think less of your contributions than I do, because I think a lot of you. And, that makes me feel pretty good. And I try to
Mhm.
pass that along to my employees as well. Because it's, it goes back to human nature. Everybody wants to hear that they're doing a good job. People want to hear, don't be so hard on yourself. I think you're doing a great job. That does a
Mhm.
lot for an employee's confidence, and it generally tends to show in the next evaluation because they're going to work harder for you.
Mhm.
So let's look at
Do
some
you still
comments here.
do you
Go
think
ahead.
evaluations should be done every year?
So at the corporate level, they want us to do them every year. I actually think that they should be done more often than that. I'm a big
Okay.
believer in the every 6 months
Wow.
because, well, here's the thing. When you set goals for yourself into the next evaluation period, you're not necessarily setting goals that are achievable within a year.
Mhm.
Some of them might be longer term projects than that.
Mhm.
Some of them might be shorter term projects. So what I like to do is I like to do a check-in with employees at usually like at 90 days and then maybe at 6 months, just to kind of touch base with them, make sure that they haven't forgotten about what their goals were so that they're not scrambling at the end,
Mhm.
waiting for the next evaluation. And also to try to help them if they get stuck. Because
Mhm.
one of the things that I find employees do is that with goals is that sometimes they bite off more than they can chew, and they realize that this large goal should actually be split up into smaller, more
Mhm.
achievable goals. And
Yeah.
so I always try to keep that open line of communication with them, so that if they do get into a rut or they get stuck, we can work them out of it without having to wait a whole year to do it. Now, some employees and even some supervisors are not big proponents of the evaluation. They think they serve no purpose, and you'll see managers zip through them a couple hours
Mhm.
before they're all due.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those are the ones that are giving their employees all fives and just trying to get done with it.
Mm. Yeah.
But being a professional myself and having gone through all the training that I've gone through, I can see that there's a lot of good if you have a positive mental attitude going into an evaluation. If both parties do, there's a lot of
Mhm.
good feedback that can come from that.
Sure.
And yeah, I just think that keeping that line of communication open is very important.
Mhm.
Let's see, what does Keela say? Employees need something to strive for. That is why I do not give fives. But if I see improvements, I will do evals early. And that's kind of what I'm getting to, is that if I see an employee who 90 days after their last evaluation seems to be struggling with something, I will intervene, because I'm not going to let an employee struggle um, and wait a whole year to find out that something was wrong. And I kind of feel the same way. My boss is kind of the same school. So he says, okay, so you set your first goal, you put that you should have it done within 3 months. So let's talk again in 3 months and see if you were able to meet that deadline. B, how the experience was for you. And C, did you accomplish everything that you wanted to accomplish?
Mm.
He stresses to me a lot that he has an open door policy and that he expects me and our other employees to, to talk to him
Mhm.
periodically and just to touch base, just to know how
Mm.
everything's going. And I think that having that kind of open dialogue with your supervisor does
Mhm.
wonders. It really does.
Let's
Let's
see
see
that.
here. Deb says, when I was a manager, I did 6-month check-in, like a light review, and then after 1 year, a hard review. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Deb. That, yeah, you don't have to wait a whole year to find out if somebody's struggling and, to be able to put them back on the right track, because that can be deflating. It can completely affect the employee's mental outlook about their job. It can put them in a bad place, and it can send them down a downward spiral. And then a year from now, when you're doing that evaluation again, you're confused as to why all this is going on. And it's because you haven't been communicating regularly with your employees. So I try not to hound them too much about it, but I also try to be, I am an observer of people. So that's what I do for a living, and I take a lot of pride in it. And I always want to make sure that employees have all the tools in their toolbox that they need to be successful at their jobs. Crystal says, I hated doing the self-evals because I'm always harder on myself than others.
Yep.
But now that yearly evals don't really exist in my company, I miss
nice.
evals now are whenever and wherever. See, yeah.
I'm
What
after
school?
so many-
What school do you belong to, Ben?
the Viva la Revolution.
Viva la Revolution.
Power to the people.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah, the thing is that it was all fine and dandy when things were different at our company, but we're expanding so much, there isn't time to work on any of this. And that is something the company needs to look at. But yeah, there's a lot of issues there. And I have found that people generally, where I work, people generally just beat the snot out of themselves. And it's like, this is getting to where it's not productive. There needs to be a sit-down session about this. Not some silly Franklin Covey. Oh, I won't mention names. Not some silly, synergize. Come on. No. Let's talk about real concepts that work.
Yeah.
Let's avoid all the fluff. Let's avoid the, that's good old motivational speeches. No. There needs to be time when there's, and that's the thing. I think a lot exists. A lot of HRs. I'm not going to say all. And certainly, I know it's not true in all. Not HRs, companies, large, corporate bodies.
Yeah.
But I think oftentimes when something comes up, like we're falling short in this area, I think there's a lot of temptation there to go with let's get a canned motivational program.
Yeah, and you know what, Ben? More often than not, and I can only speak from my own experiences, but more often than not, when that happens, those orders come from on high.
Yeah.
They don't come from the HR team. And that's also a sad reality, is that oftentimes the corporate overlords think that they know more than their HR staff do.
Yeah.
And whereas we would know exactly how to motivate the employees, their canned responses, I want you to hire such and such, what do they call them? Consulting firm or whatever to come in. And I have sat through some of the most ridiculous presentations I've ever heard in my life. And it killed me, because we were paying these people thousands of dollars for this useless advice.
Yeah.
And when someone in our own team could provide, much, much better information.
And that's why I find to generally be the case, is that you have people in your own company that they're used to your company speak, they're used to your company's values, whatever.
Right. We understand the culture. Yeah. We know the employees. Yeah, exactly. And Carnosol says, as a QA guy, I give ratings to every piece of work I review, and every employee can see their performance rating ongoing. And we're working a high volume environment with monthly totals ongoing. Yeah, honestly, that's my way of thinking too, is that performance evaluations should be an ongoing thing, but they don't need to be, a formal process. I mean, it could just be as simple as me walking up to an employee and saying, hey, I noticed that you've really been doing a good job lately with such and such, and I just wanted to let you know, just give them that little pat on the back. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the world. Stacia says, I'm lucky my mental health is always on calm and cool. I don't have any issues at all. My customers give me constant positive feedback. I'm good with just that. Greed is it for corporate level. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, at the individual level, especially if you're in a service industry. So if you work in a restaurant or you work in retail, your feedback is almost instantaneous because your feedback comes from the last person who you served, and, again, going back to the negative talk and stuff like that. I mean, you can have a great day where everyone gives you compliments. Every customer is great. And then you get that one shithead, that one Karen who says something terrible to you, and that sticks with you for the rest of the day and ruins everything leading up to that point. So I never want to be that for any of my employees.
Now, there was one of my mentors, Chase Hughes, was talking about how he used to read YouTube comments with an open heart. He would like, oh, okay, I got good marks, good marks, good marks, good marks. Okay, feeling pretty good. He would see one negative comment that would instantly wipe out 10 good, 20 good comments, and that would stick with him. So yeah, there's a point where you have to start, and this goes back to one of the prior values or methods. Yeah, they're you need to work on resilience to this harden. I hate to use the term harden, but military sense. Of letting outside opinions guide. Of course, and if we value other people's opinions so much, that gets to be codependence, where it's like, no, I've got to have your approval. But,
right. You go back to the whole domestication thing. You're being re-domesticated. Yeah, absolutely.
And some of this stuff, especially with negative self-talk, some of it is really, really deep. And a lot of it is, some of it you can't affirmation your way out of. Some of it you can't talk yourself out of. It requires a lot of work to get past.
Yeah, it really does. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because well, number one, it's one of the 5 books that Keela talks about a lot that have changed her life. I was sent this book by a friend of ours, who we know as the Hammer, and that's our friend Rachel. She sent this to me last year after my world started falling apart, and thought that this would be something that I could really use in my everyday life. And I'm almost embarrassed to say it because the book sat on my desk for quite a while, for months, before I finally picked it up. And once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. I read it cover to cover, and it's a pretty short read. I mean, it's not a huge book. Here's the book. And it's not very thick. It's a couple hundred pages. I mean, I think most people, actually, it's 140 pages. So for me, I mean, that would be like a bathroom read, and it practically was. I mean, I read it in like an hour, but I found myself going back to it a lot, because there's so many concepts in the book that just resonate with me, and I find myself going back over and over and over again to it. So thank you, Rachel, even though I know you're not in here, but thank you for sending me the book. It has changed my life in a lot of ways. And I've also realized that these seem like very simple things, but they're not. They're really not. They're so hard. And if any of you, I encourage you all to try to pick one of these at random, one that speaks to you more than any of the others, and leave a comment down below as to which one kind of speaks to you and that you would like to apply to your own life. And we'd be curious to see how that journey goes for you. So just to kind of wrap up, I had written that understanding the 4 agreements is one thing, living them is another. Ruiz warns that transformation doesn't happen overnight. We have spent years, even decades, living by old agreements based on fear, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs. Breaking these habits requires awareness, practice, and patience.
Mm.
The first step is to become aware of when you are violating an agreement. Start noticing when you speak negatively, take things personally, make assumptions, or fail to give your best. Awareness is powerful because it allows you to catch yourself in the moment and choose a different response. Next, replace old habits with new ones. When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, stop and replace it with positive words. When someone criticizes you, remind yourself that it's not about you. When you feel tempted to assume the worst, ask questions instead. And when you feel like giving up, remember to simply do your best with the energy you have. Ruiz compares the mind to a fertile field where seeds are planted for years. Society, family, and personal experiences have planted seeds of fear, doubt, and limitation. But now you have the power to plant new seeds, seeds of love, freedom, and self-empowerment. It takes time for these new seeds to grow, but with patience and consistency, they will flourish. Applying these agreements will transform your relationships, career, and inner peace. Imagine living in a world where people speak with integrity. Don't take things personally. Seek clarity instead of making assumptions, and always give their best. That world begins with you. The more you practice these agreements, the more they will become second nature, leading you to a life of true personal freedom. By adopting these 4 simple but profound agreements, you can free yourself from unnecessary suffering and create a life filled with joy, purpose, and authenticity. Imagine a world where people spoke only truth, took nothing personally, made no assumptions, and always gave their best. It would be a world free from unnecessary suffering, a world where you could truly be yourself. So, if you found this review valuable, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let us know down in the comments which agreement resonates with you the most. Until next time, I've been Town John with my friend BenBaconBits. And until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and stay unstoppable. Thanks, guys.
There it goes.
And there's our friend Keela.
That's a lobster.
How'd we do, Keela?
You did great.
Did we get the Keela McDonald
You got the
thumbs up,
seal of approval from me.
seal of
You
approval?
did really great.
Good, thanks.
It actually
Try not to be too robotic there, but I had to
no.
write down things.
I mean, the way that you summed each one of those up, John.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's better than obviously read the book. But you did really good.
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you.
Obviously, read the book. It is, like I said, it's a short read.
You put it
And
down, and then you go
but-
back when you need it.
yeah. And like I
It's
said, that's exactly what I did. I read it really fast, and I know Ben got the audio version and he listened to it. But I find myself referring back to it constantly, just if for no other reason than to remind myself that I need to do these things, that I need to apply this to my life. And it does take a long time, but I've also found that if you try to tackle them one at a time, you can have a little bit better luck than trying to cram all 4 of them in all at once. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, because it's so. Even though they're so small, did you want that thing put up?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I completely forgot about that when we were going
tell
over it.
Barbie,
The
thank
what?
you so much for
The
that. It's
poster.
very much appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Barbie.
I mean, I appreciate it very much. Thank you for supporting this channel. I appreciate it.
Is that your bird laughing in the background, Ben?
Somebody, the bird does a
Oh,
lot of
you're
things.
listening to. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, there's some noise here in the background.
Okay.
Okay, so where's Red? Hang on, Red. Hey, can you put that up? Do you have that to put up, or did?
It's strange seeing Red in action.
Oh, you can't do it. You can't do it. And I don't have Messenger. John, you don't have Messenger on your
I have
computer?
Messenger.
Okay, if I send it to you, because I don't have Messenger on this computer to get it.
What, a link?
Oh,
No, it's the picture.
Oh, the poster. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have Messenger on my computer, so I'm gonna have to
Oh,
send
okay.
it to
Hold
you.
on a second.
oh,
I
this
can-
this must be the poster when Kilo went to Billy Idol and was in the
I
front
found
row.
this.
It's just the poster that lists the 4 agreements. I was
Oh,
gonna
All right,
have
there you go.
okay.
have Red throw it up while we were doing it,
Yeah, and Red,
but
I sent it to her, but I just sent it to you.
okay.
Yeah, I
just
don't
heard
have
my
that
phone
on. I
ding.
don't have that on my computer.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I have it on my phones and iPad, but not on the computer.
Copy image.
Barbie watch. Here we go. He's gonna pop them up.
I'm probably not gonna be able to do this. What are you laughing at, Ben?
I'm not laughing.
Ben, you're
I don't know what
multitasking, aren't you? I know you.
No,
That's
I
how we
was,
work best. You bought the
was,
book, right?
I've got the
It's
copy,
a
but I
very little
don't know how
book,
to.
but it's very
yeah,
powerful.
the
don't know how to
audiobook.
paste it.
I just suddenly
It went so quick,
realized.
Ben. It just,
Well, yeah, the audiobook lasts 2 hours, but you can honestly, and I did not realize this about Audible, that you can actually
Speed it up.
increase. Yeah, I
I like
figured
it.
that out. I figured that out the last day. Like, oh, how much time did I waste? You know?
Audible, I usually do 1.5 or 1.75.
Yeah. Yeah, I like audiobooks because I can bike and listen at the same time for
Now,
kinesthetic learners.
Yep.
you know what? As a professional trainer of people, I can say that there's a lot of argument out there about the different learning styles of people.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, they used to preach that there are 3 different learning styles: people who learn from hearing things, people who learn from reading things, and people who learn from visualizing things.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of argument about it. A lot of
Mhm.
people think that that's a bunch of hooey, but I can
Yeah.
tell you from experience that I absorb much more, especially from a book, in a book format. I absorb much more information from reading than I do from listening.
And
I
Mhm.
yeah,
don't know why, because I like the convenience of audiobooks because you can take them
Mm.
anywhere,
Yeah.
but I find that I tend to listen to an audiobook over and over again before it sinks
Sure.
in. Whereas I can read something once and it just locks.
well, John, on
Very
a
strange.
little special
Yeah, it's
Happy Town John, because when you got ADHD, like all of us, I keep reading the same sentence over and over and over, so I got to listen.
if it's a reference material, I almost always buy the physical book, especially if it's
Oh, yeah.
highly
Yeah.
technical.
Yeah.
And of course, the DSM-5
And
stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm a big highlighter too. I think
Mm.
my mom was an English teacher. And so growing up, one of the great things that she taught us was that we had this huge dictionary in our house, and it sat on a stand in a corner of one of the rooms. And anytime we needed to look up a word in the dictionary, she would make us highlight it. And by the time we were all done with high school, all 3 of us, we could open that dictionary to any page, and there would be at least 5 or 6 words that were highlighted on each one. And I thought
Dang,
that was
John, that's
kind of
pretty
cool.
cool.
So I
That's
kind of
like
do
it.
that in my own life. People tease me because I'm a big proponent of spreadsheets and I'm
Oh,
a
God,
big
here we go
proponent of
again.
highlighting things.
Spreadsheets are it's made by the devil.
Ow.
I cannot do
Well, somebody,
spreadsheets. We
that's
did
the
this
thing
last
about
night.
spreadsheets. Somebody out there has to like them. So, oh well.
No, I just don't like
Embrace
doing
the
them.
chaos.
I just don't like doing
I
them.
get a lot of shit. I get a
Hey,
lot
no,
of
that's
shit
what it
about
is.
my love for spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation last night, right? Or yesterday.
I just like to keep things organized. It's that ADHD thing again.
And mine is
Everything
unorganized.
has a place for everything and everything in its place, right? So Marie says, I'm like you too, John. Reading it is better than hearing it. Hearing it with captions is even better. Now hearing it with captions, now that's a different deal. Like one of the things I love is I love to watch like DIY stuff on YouTube, because think about this for a second. when you're watching a DIY video on YouTube, you're getting all three. So it doesn't matter what type of learner you are, you're going to get information from it. Because number one, you're watching it visually, so it's being performed for you. Two, if you're watching it with captions, you're reading it, right? And then you're also having it basically presented to you. So you're getting all three. You're getting the best of both of all worlds. And I think that's why DIY is so popular on YouTube, because it caters to every type of learning style.
I still love DIY, especially when Eastern Europeans doing it. There was a guy, I had to look it up on how to reset my, did an oil change, but you have a little sensor in there that needs to be reset.
Yeah.
And I love this guy. He was great. After so long of putting up with Americans, oh no, now let's do it this way. Let's be kind. It was so refreshing. It was like manna from heaven. Hearing this Russian talk about, okay, you push the start button. Do not put your foot on the gas pedal. That is stupid. Do not be stupid. Hit this button. Then you hit the brake. Do not hit the gas. That is stupid. It's like, oh my God. I love this guy.
Now, who is that?
Oh yeah, I don't know who it was.
Oh, you don't know.
It was like, oh, this is great. It's like hearing something. It's like getting a fix of something you were addicted to that you didn't know you were addicted to. It's like, oh.
No, I saw a comment by Shannon and said, I love CC. I thought she was talking about the guy you were talking about. I have CC
closed captioning.
on. Oh, okay, closed captioning. Sorry, duh. Brain fart.
Yeah, and their snores so loud if he falls asleep in the recliner. So I make sure he hates captions. As soon as he starts snoring, which is like 1.2 seconds, I put the captions on.
I'm a big fan of whatever is possible. I still prefer to ride the bike while listening, just because that way you kind of feel like. But yeah, in reality, multitasking, we're actually 40% less effective when we multitask. People keep saying, "Oh no, you don't understand. I'm a good multitasker."
No,
you're not.
You know what though, Ben? I got to push back on that one, because I was just talking with somebody about this last night. So I don't know if I have a unique mind in that regard. Because of the ADHD, it might be different from some people. But the way my brain works, I literally have to be doing 3 things at once, or my brain does not feel fulfilled. Like I was saying this yesterday, I'll have a YouTube channel running on my television. I'll have a video playing on my computer, and I'll be working. I'll be answering an email or something like that. And people will look at me or I'll be having a conversation with somebody on the phone. And people get really offended when they hear you doing other things in the background, because they're like, you should be focused on me right now. This is about me. And I'm like, I'm listening to every word you're saying. Trust me.
Hey,
and they'll say, okay, what did I say about so-and-so 3 sentences ago? And I'll tell them. And they're like, wow, how does your brain work like that? I'm like, I don't know. I have tried. I told Keela this last night. I have tried over and over and over again to be, to put blinders on and to focus on just one thing and do it well. Like the other night, I was writing the script for this, and that was my main focus. I was also talking on the phone with someone, and I was answering an email while I was doing it. Now, I had Word open on one screen. I had my email open on the other, and I was literally bouncing back and forth. I would write a sentence of the email, and then I would go back to the script. And then the person on the phone is like, are you listening? I'm like, yeah, I can hear. I'm listening to everything you're saying. And it's like, but I find that I'm constantly trying to explain myself to people, because they think I'm being rude to them, because I'm not putting all my focus on just that conversation. And I try to tell them, if I did that, my head would explode.
Right.
Well, yeah.
I
And
have
remember,
two speeds: fast forward and stop.
Mm.
There's nothing in between.
I
Nothing.
touched it.
yeah,
I touched
with
it. Y'all can blame me. I touched the mouse.
yeah, and
Chaos says I've got zero concentration. I got my cell, table, and TV at the same time and can't focus on any of them. Now,
yeah,
see,
then
I
that
can't stop focusing on any of them.
and
That's
that
my
that
problem.
happens with that comment. That happens more often than not. That is the reason why, for most of us, when we're going down the road looking for an address, we turn the radio down because your
Yeah.
brain's receiving stimulation. You're trying to watch something and keep the car at the same, keep the car on the road at the same time.
Right.
It's a script. It's a script, because your brain says, "Oh, driving, I know how to do this." It'll run a
Mhm.
script, but simply looking for an address is kind of novelty with
Yeah.
that, so it tends to be script breaking. But yeah, if you want an example of a script, try putting your belt on backwards. I mean, instead of if you go on this side, just do
Yeah.
that. Try tying your shoes completely different. Try, and yeah, that is an
Right.
example of a script. We
Yeah.
have it in our procedural memory, but when you do it
My
different,
muscle memory.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
Ben, you should
Well,
have
and
been.
now,
You pay me.
it's one of those things. It goes
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
goes
John.
back to pressure, I think.
Yeah.
I work best under pressure. I don't know why that is.
a lot of people with ADHD
One of the
do.
things I used to do when I went back to college, Ben, this will crack you up. We would have, like, in certain classes, we would have like a huge research paper that was due at the end. And that
Mhm.
would be, 75% of your grade. And they would give us, 4 or 5 weeks to do all the research and prepare this paper. I would literally wait until the night before it was due,
Mhm.
pull an all-nighter, stay up all night, doing all my research, all my footnotes, everything, and get an A every single time. But
Mhm.
it was only because I had to put that pressure on myself
Yeah.
to make myself be my best. If I had
How-
started 3 weeks before it was due, it would have been a piece of shit when I turned it in. And I
Mhm.
Miss,
can't
thank
explain
you.
it, but that's how
Love
my
you.
brain works.
Love you. We gotta talk later.
Oh, bye,
I'll call you.
Mish.
I'm gonna tell you. Tell my I get lost 3 blocks from my house if I'm talking to
Chaos
someone.
says I get
Yes,
and don't get me wrong, that doesn't make me better than you in any
Oh,
way,
no.
shape, or form. I'm just as broken
Yeah.
as you are. I'm just broken in a different way. That's all.
True.
and
Yeah,
cortisol,
and
right? That's a
one
good
one thing I've had a lot of luck with helping to get me in the flow state. I think a lot of it depends upon the task you're doing too. I mean, a lot of my stuff is
Mhm.
DB programming databases, working with geometrics and things like that. Do a little
Hey,
bit of
Amina.
trig, which trig is the
Hi,
eighth layer of
Jimena.
hell. But doing
Bye,
that,
Miss.
I've actually had a lot of luck doing hemisync, syncing the two hemispheres of your brain together with audio. Or there's a lot of audio on YouTube that's specifically made for ADHD. I find just having that at low volume,
Oh,
boom, yeah, I get in a flow state. Well,
Hey,
I'm
well,
not like that, but a lot faster.
I was bragging on you, Ben, yesterday. I
wow.
said you have taught me more than you'll ever know. Just that one time of teaching me about how to get out of that anxiety attack, use the other
Mm.
part of your brain. I use it for literally everything now. To get my
Yeah,
blood pressure down, to get my
she
heart rate down.
she was
I
telling
mean,
me
it
that last night. I
works.
had no idea.
I said, do the math.
That Ben Turner, he's always teaching
Hey,
people.
Amanda.
Ah.
Oh, it's great to see Jimena, isn't it?
Mm.
And Carnosol, I was agreeing with you on whatever you said up there. I can't remember. It's up there.
But yeah, she was telling me about that last night, Ben, and I was
There's
like,
Ben's
wow,
channel.
those
There's a link.
are very wise words.
Mm.
Jimena,
Stuff like that.
I was pretending to have ADHD and watching
Oh.
those streams.
Hey, John, do you have your channel up? We're trying to find it.
It's up, but I still haven't posted any videos yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know everyone's getting so sick of hearing that, but I just want to make sure that I'm 100% back to normal. What? All right, you're doing a me now.
So much. I can't help it.
This is what you always yell at me for doing.
Look, he's cracking me up.
Who
When,
is?
when will you put it up there? I'm not going to touch the mouse. Hang on. Someone wants to choose forever or chaos forever.
You call my ex a
Look.
couple of times when I went riding my bicycle. One time rode 10 miles in the wrong direction. Well, I think we've all been guilty of that before.
Oh,
One of the
ooh.
things that I do that I'm guilty of, this cracks my wife up every time it happens. We'll get in the car to go somewhere and we'll jump on the freeway and I'll keep going. And she'll say, "Where are you going?" Because I'm so programmed to drive to work. My brain just starts driving me to work. And so I forget to get off at the exit and I got to turn around. It's
Well, our brains are amazing. That
We're
is
just-
one thing they are good at doing is they
absolutely
run
programmed.
scripts. Yep.
Uh-huh.
And
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am much like somebody who likes squirrels. I will start working on something. It's like, oh, but you don't understand. I found this cool video. And then that leads to this. And before you know it, you're meaning to look up,
Mhm.
what the square root of this is. And then you're on a page dealing with literal mazes and squirrels in that maze,
We
things like
do that. We do that with
Oh.
Keela all the time. That's why she's turning red laughing because she knows
I'm already
exactly what
red.
we're talking about. We always go, "Keela, squirrel."
That's how you got to do. I'm done. That's why somebody has to take care of me, watch me.
Once she hits the 2-hour mark in one of her lives,
over
that's
with.
when you got to start throwing squirrels
Everything
out
before.
for her. Barbie says, "I get myself in the weeds every day because of squirrels."
So I was going to tell you too, if y'all are interested, that we are going to do. It's not going to be obviously this week, but probably next week because I got to give people time. We're going to do an ADHD panel.
A panel
Is that
discussion.
going to be
Oh, good.
interesting?
Kim has asked me if I wanted to be part of one that she is going to be doing on the 8th, I believe, next Thursday, whatever day that is. Yes, next Thursday, the 8th. I'll be going on with her, and she's doing an ADHD, or I'm sorry, not ADHD. It's it's a panel discussion for people on the spectrum. And she wanted me to come in and talk as a former caregiver. I guess you could say a current caregiver. I mean, my stepkids are all adults now, but they're all still dealing with those things. So she wanted me to come in just as a different perspective to talk as somebody who has raised 3 kids that were on the spectrum. So,
and see, that's so there's a lot. I think didn't you tell me I have to buy more seats? Yesterday when we were talking about it.
Buy more seats on StreamYard because there's so many of us. Yeah, you think about it.
So many guests. We're just going to have to probably switch them out
like we do on the 24-hour lives. Yeah.
Yeah, because just bring people up and down.
There are a bunch of us.
I think it's going to. There's so many people wanting to do that. I think that's great, and not just in this channel. There's a lot of channels that want to do that.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about it is, much like being on the spectrum. I mean, they call it a spectrum because the levels of severity vary so wildly. And I honestly think ADHD is the same way because you'll never meet a person who has ADHD who has it exactly the same way you do.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have a large swath of people on there so that we can talk about the spectrum of ADHD as well and how
100%.
How much it affects people. Yeah.
There's because you like one end to the other. There's a gray area in there. People are not always the whole negative or the whole positive,
To me, it's like alcoholism or addiction or anything like that. There are people who are functional with ADHD, and I think a majority of us can say that. I mean, we have careers, we hold down jobs. And then there are some who have it to such a degree that it affects every aspect of their life.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's so important
you
to
can't
talk
even make
about
a choice on which way to turn out of a hall.
Right, exactly. And you get
Your
absolutely
brain's telling
paralyzed
you to do
by
this.
you get paralyzed by fear or doubt or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think it's really important to understand the different degrees of it.
And there's
how to
even
manage it.
research with different, how do I say this, that there may be different causes for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who say that no, this is a learned behavior. Then
No,
there's
it's
a lot of evidence saying that
That'll say you're
there is
born with
a
it.
lot of
Oh, Gracie,
chemicals.
you can be, when we do it, I'll tell you, because you can be on the panel if you want. We're going to have a lot of
But-
people on the panel. See, on the
Oh, yeah,
ADHD, there is different. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Ben.
Yeah, that there's some that say that, this is a defense mechanism that children learn, they go into their head and
Mhm.
to escape things. And, there's some of this,
that's
some of
not-
that, some of this.
That's not fact.
But
I mean, that is not fact. So,
Absolutely.
now,
Absolutely.
now, my aunt did things she shouldn't have when she was pregnant, and my cousin was
Mhm.
put on Ritalin when he was 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
3,
Yeah.
due to his
Mhm.
just him from growing in that kind of environment.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I didn't get diagnosed until my mom walked in and said, "You start 50 things, you never finish one. Go to the doctor."
Well,
was an
you know
adult.
what, Keela? Here's one of these things
And-
that really, really pissed me off about being a step parent is that back in the day when my kids were school age, they
Mhm.
all had issues. And one by one, we would get called into the office to say, we're having all these behavioral issues with Brandon. He's a good student, but he just can't get out of his own way. And we suggest that you put him on Ritalin.
Hell
We're like,
no.
okay, and who in your organization has made that professional
That's right.
opinion or diagnosis? And they were like, oh no, we're not trying to diagnose anybody. We just found that it makes the kids more manageable. And I'm like,
Oh
well,
my gosh.
Oh my
I
God.
will take my child to a doctor and get
Mhm.
a diagnosis from that
Wow.
doctor.
Yeah.
And then I will
Yeah.
follow the recommendations of that doctor. I'm
Wow.
not going to have,
Yeah.
a school psychologist or, a principal or a teacher tell me to medicate my kid to make their life easier.
That's exactly what they do, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got so mad when my niece, when they were fixing to put my niece, when she's in like 1st or 2nd grade,
Mhm.
I was like, "They're not putting her on that medicine." I don't know, it's for ADHD, but I said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you starting her on something that you don't even know what's going to affect her as she gets older?"
Right.
And
And
taking it
you know what?
only 5 days a week. You don't have to take it on the weekends. What good does
Mm.
that do? Your levels are going to go up, down, up, down. I mean, it has to be
Right.
a therapeutic constant level and stay in their
Exactly.
system. But then they give them Risperdal to sleep at night. That's
Yeah.
bullshit. Sorry,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm shut up
Yeah.
now.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're starting to get,
Well, no,
side
I'm
on
right
top of
there with
side.
you
It's
because
bullshit.
I got into some really ugly arguments with people at schools because it
Right,
was
Tiff?
like, who are you? Where is your
Yeah.
medical degree? Tell
Yeah.
me how you are able to diagnose my child and give me recommendations on what kind of drugs to give them. I mean, think about it,
And
Keila. We
how do
raised
you?
an entire generation of these kids.
Oh my
You
God,
walk into these classrooms and they're all medicated.
it's
They're all
ridiculous.
sitting there with their heads looking at the board like zombies.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
it was
how
No, it's
bad.
quickly.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you don't give a 3 or 4-year-old, even
Mhm.
anybody, even anybody below 18. I don't care. Risperdal.
Yeah.
They don't even know what that drug,
Mhm.
the long-term effects of that drug is yet. It's too
No.
new.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
They're still doing
sadly.
studies on it. And you're going to give
Absolutely.
it to a child that young. Yes,
Absolutely.
they do.
Yeah.
That's my
It
problem
And
was.
what
with it.
happened was that generation of kids that we put on Ritalin grew up,
Yeah.
and what did
Mm.
they grow up to do? What's
Mm.
the adult version? I forget the name of it. Oh God. Come on, Ben. You're the master of drugs. What's the adult version of well, you are. what's the adult version of
Of of ADHD or
Ritalin.
They
oh
don't really give it anymore much. It's
No, there's an
Concerta,
adult.
Strattera.
There's a drug that adults take a lot for the
Mm.
same for ADHD
Vyvanse is what I
symptoms.
took. Vyvanse
No,
is what I took. And then there's Adderall.
no. Adderall.
And
That's
there's
what it
Yeah,
is. Thank you.
Adderall.
yeah.
I knew somebody would come up with it. Yeah, Adderall. So now we raised a whole generation of kids that were medicated on Ritalin and
Mhm.
given these downs and then given these pills to sleep, the Risperdal, and now they grew up and now they're addicted to Adderall. And it's an entire generation of kids that
Oh,
we
yeah.
did
Okay,
that
wait.
to.
Thomas, I'm touching my mouth. Sorry, y'all. Thomas,
That's all right.
2 of my kids deal with ADHD and meds definitely helped them in school. I don't like it, but it did help. I agree with you there. My niece, I pitched a fit about, but her grades
Mm.
were bottoming out. When she
Yeah.
started
Mm.
taking her medicine, and my mom is a psych nurse, so she was
Yeah.
going to tell my sister one way or another
Mm.
what it was going to, yes or no. The
Right.
meds that my niece is on, she's got straight A's now. She can focus. She don't get in trouble. That I can understand. But
Right. And
put
I'm
your
not
child on
saying
that to control them is bullcrap.
right. I'm not saying that every kid who's put on it doesn't need it. I'm sure
No,
that
that's
some of
true.
them do,
Mm.
but they started to use it as a behavioral tool, and to me,
Mhm.
that's
Right.
bullshit. I was not going to
Yeah.
That's
take
what it
that.
is.
I was not going to
I
take that.
just
Grace, you had
speaking
a
to
question.
Brazy's point, I had Scott. He's a really amazing guy. He's a Native American. He was doing drugs at one point. Now he's in school for psychology and all this other stuff. But he
Mhm.
wrote one of his thesis, whatever, we can make up words. Words is hard. But yeah, he wrote one of his papers on this exact thing because what he found was, yeah, specifically red and yellow 5 um, create
Mhm.
exacerbate problems with ADHD. Okay, now with the Native American community, you already have a propensity towards this.
Mhm.
So what happens with people with ADHD, they sadly, tend to, not global world, they tend to earn so much money less than people without. So what
Mhm.
this does is it creates a cycle because what you do when you earn less money, you spend less money on food. What's the food
Yeah.
that you can get for less money is nutrient dense
Yeah.
artificial food, which then
Mhm.
kicks up the ADHD, which then kicks up, the
Yeah.
the poverty factor, and then it's just a vicious cycle
It's a
that goes
vicious
over and
cycle.
over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
socioeconomic
Absolutely.
cycle that never ends.
yeah.
Absolutely. So Marie says, my 4 kids all have ADHD. They're in their 30s now. Their teachers were lacking info about ADHD. I met with them and gave them info. I
Facebook
always
mom,
took
yeah,
my kids for assessment on my own. Absolutely, Marie. I feel exactly the same way.
I do too.
My kids are 36, 34, and 32 now and still have problems. Um, but, most of them are at least in therapy. They're not
Mhm,
on Adderall. They're trying to, solve their problems through
mhm,
natural means.
mhm.
And some of them, they're having differing degrees of success, but I
Yeah.
much prefer that than just
If
blanket
if a
throwing kids
kid
on
needs it,
drugs.
like, but see if like my niece, I mean, I was the first one to scream at everybody about it. I was like,
Hmm.
no, but I mean, I see what these drug studies end up with, and
Yeah.
and this one's they're still too new, and especially
Mhm,
on younger children. But when changed her whole, she never got a misconduct anymore.
Hmm.
She didn't.
mhm,
Her grades were always A's. She could focus at home, sit down, study. I was like, "Okay, that works." She
Yeah.
needed it.
mhm.
That works.
Absolutely.
But these people that get all this medicine to their child and then give them something to sleep or lower their blood pressure at night,
Right.
what the hell are you doing to their system?
No, yeah.
Right.
They're children.
No,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm a firm believer if you honestly need it, if it honestly helps you,
Mhm.
then yeah, by all means do that. But to use it as a behavioral tool, that's
Mm.
just no, I had to draw the
Crazy.
line.
Yeah,
There is a line there. I mean, because like I said, Ben was saying about the different or the causes of ADHD. My cousin, I mean, he was the first. I mean, he was born and he was growing in a bad environment, and then he
Mhm.
was born, and then they put him on Ritalin because of what my aunt had done while she was pregnant, And then now he's just always in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
So-
this and stuff like that. If you don't need to be on it, they just call any undesired effect a
Yeah, the
side
desired
effect.
and intended effect.
But
Yeah.
the front thing is that we can see this even caffeine, prime example.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not razzing on caffeine.
Better
But
not.
what happens, you have 2 cups, whatever. If you have coffee the same time every morning, what starts to happen is your brain, because caffeine will take and constrict your blood vessels. So what starts to happen in the brain, your brain starts to expect this. So you'll dilate blood vessels in preparation for this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why sometimes if you don't have coffee in the morning, you'll get a headache
Mhm.
because your brain, there's just too much going on there. But that is a really simple example about how the body starts to adjust to this stuff. And
Sure.
like Keela was saying, they still have no idea what a lot of this stuff does long term.
No. I
That
like
is
this
what gets
comment
me.
from Barbie. I think back when I was a kid, all the bug spray, air freshener spray, parents smoking in the house, etc. How did we survive?
Right. Gen
we
X,
rode our
maybe
we
that's
rode
why.
our bikes without helmets. I mean,
And we drank
good
out of water
Lord.
hoses.
We drank out of the hose. Yeah, how are we still
Me-
kicking?
We did not come
metal
home
slides.
till the lights come on the streets, and then that was time to
Yeah.
go home.
You know what? This is probably
Gen
the
X,
best comment
baby.
I've seen so far. Marie Rassico, ADHD brain is like watching a TV that changes channel at random, and you have to get up and change the channel back manually every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, every 30 seconds,
Oh,
or 2 to come.
right? Yeah.
It's true,
Yeah,
though.
and we rode in the back of trucks. Yeah, she
Yeah.
said no seatbelts. I said we rode in the back of the truck.
We rode in the back of the truck. I mean, we used to,
I remember
up
that.
here in the north in the wintertime when the roads were icy, we would grab onto the bumper of a truck and go for a ride like that. It's a wonder half of us are still kicking.
How did we make it to make these kids that have to wear helmets to do
I don't know.
anything?
We turn them into
gotta be
pansies,
kind.
I'm telling you. They're
Gotta
all a
be
bunch
kind.
of candy asses. What the hell?
John,
I mean, I'd fall down, rip my leg open, and go running in the house crying. My mom would be like,
back out there, Dad."
rub some dirt on it. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
Get back
yeah.
up there."
Yep.
There you go, Alan. There you go. You're all better.
Oh, here's part 2.
Meds are like having a remote. The channel still changes, but it's easier to change it to the one you want or need to watch. Yeah, because you don't have to keep getting up.
Yeah. Okay, Facebook
good
Mom.
point.
Oh, you get so
Very good point.
philosophical here, but it's the truth.
Oh, don't you
But yeah,
know?
if you are having problems with ADHD,
Marie
of
is a
course, I'm not a doctor,
Chris,
but you can limit a lot of effects just avoiding red dye.
Mhm.
Whatever it may be. Unfortunately, that's cherry, which is one of my favorite flavors. But and sugar, as bad as sugar is for you, sugar instead of whatever that is, it's
Corn syrup.
Yeah, corn syrup.
High
there you go.
fructose corn syrup. Yeah.
I eat.
I was just having a
we don't do sugar. We do like sweet and low here.
I was just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day. They don't put real sugar in anything anymore. It's all corn syrup.
Jimenez
It's
Peeps,
so bad.
Jimenez Peeps do. You can still buy soda from Mexico. That's
Mexican
made with
Coke,
Yeah.
Mexican
that's good, though.
Coca-Cola. I love that shit so much. But I
Me
found
too.
out that it's not only Mexico. Literally every other country still puts sugar in their sodas. We're the only ones that use corn syrup.
Oh,
Well, that
well,
was. I think that's what. Who was it that just asked that? You were answering it about the food coloring and all the dyes and stuff in the food.
Red dye.
Yeah, it was.
Red Five.
You had. Yeah, that's Brace. That's why I don't eat sugar, is because of inflammatory. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
Well-
I have to avoid it myself. I have to avoid sugar and white flour.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and not everybody has the condition I do. I'm certainly not advocating for that.
Right.
But in my case,
Everybody is the same. Everybody's the same. Just because it's not my issue, my
Yeah.
issue is just as valid as your issue. It's just
Mhm.
as valid as everybody. So yes.
yeah, mine got so bad. Even even that joint there would
I knew
hurt.
Jimena would like
Yeah.
that.
And staying off of it,
Oh, no.
just
Gracie
yeah,
says, I'm
staying off of it,
sugar free.
that's a lot.
Well,
Sugar-free,
that's
that's
sad
the
for
only
you.
way. I mean, that's a big inflammatory.
Yeah,
That's
it
sad
is.
for you.
I'm sugar free.
Well,
too.
but you know what? pure cane sugar is a lot less inflammatory than high fructose corn syrup, is my point.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
we're purposely making ourselves more unhealthy by putting that garbage in our bodies,
Mhm.
without even realizing that it's not real sugar.
Mhm.
So I have noticed
Yeah.
that I use pure cane sugar in my coffee, and anything that I have to, like baking or anything that I need to put sugar in, I always use pure cane sugar, or even liquid cane sugar. I've heard is even better.
I use
So
coconut sugar.
Mm.
coconut
Yeah,
sugar.
coconut sugar.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
It's
I
good.
mean,
It's sweet.
I've
Yeah.
tried alternatives. Like I was keto for a long time, and learned a lot about
Black coffee.
sugar alcohols.
Mm.
And there are a couple that aren't bad, but then of course, as soon as you start taking them, then you
Oh,
hear about this
TKK, that'd be
study
great
that
here.
says that they
Yeah.
cause cancer or whatever. It's like, I
Okay,
can't win.
I've been drinking Sweet and Low because I don't drink sugar for
Yeah,
20 something years. So if it's gonna kill me, it already would have.
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it's a pure
yeah,
long time, and a lot of people that drink Sweet and Low
Yeah.
or
and
whatever it is.
they
I don't use stevia, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Somebody
I
said it
don't
still
like
has
the
sugar in
taste
it.
of stevia. I really
I
don't like
I
it.
do stevia. It is great. I have stevia flavored soda. However, there is a problem that depending upon your, I don't. Yeah, I thought I had one here, but I
It's a
don't.
horrible
Um,
aftertaste.
the problem is that some people, depending upon your DNA, it will
Mhm.
taste sour to some people, and it's just a
Oh,
pure luck of
okay.
the draw. I can't
Yeah.
remember the breakage. I think it's 25 or 30% or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, to some people it will just be sour.
So the
And
Wow.
one
it
thing that I found is erythritol.
yeah, that's
Erythritol, I swear to God, tastes just like sugar. You can't tell the
yeah,
difference. But
that is
it has
yeah, yeah.
no effect at all on your blood sugar levels. But then I just read an
Thomas,
article
thank
recently.
you.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you so much. Sugar-free tacos. Thank you. Thank you. You are appreciated, my dear. Very
John,
much
I live
so.
in
Thank you.
Thailand. We only have sugar cane sugar. It's the best. Yeah, it really is.
Oh,
It's so good.
Thomas said
Well,
he wished. Why can't you have Thomas? Why can't you have real coffee or find real coffee? I mean, is there? He had said earlier he misses real coffee. That's what I was trying to. And he's in Puerto Rico. He
What?
I'm trying to find out.
That doesn't make any sense.
mm,
Unless they just can't import it. I don't think they can
No,
grow it
they had
there.
they lost the whole island lost their life
Yeah,
for a long
they
time.
don't have the climate for growing it, so they must have to import it.
one of my
Oh wait,
NCI buds, she lives in the Netherlands. It
Mm,
is amazing. We just did a simple comparison. McDonald's US, McDonald's Netherlands. You
mhm,
would not believe the differences in food. They use
mhm,
5 ingredients for their French fries. We have 21.
yeah,
mhm.
it's a problem.
Well, it's all the fillers and the bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let's eat our cake,
the
Gen Xers,
xylitol,
and
yes,
live
sugar-free
happily
days
ever after. Oh.
See, I drink sweet milk because
All right, here it is. Xylitol is a sugar from various plants,
yeah,
including birch tree sap. It's also good for your teeth. Yeah, there is toothpaste made with xylitol too. I have heard that. It prevents you from getting cavities,
it
Don't
also
let
which
your
is the
dog eat
last
it.
thing in the world you would ever think about sugar, but it's different.
Yeah, it's I do that. It's just you can't don't leave it around dogs. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is fatal to dogs. Yeah, I did know
that's
that.
what I was gonna say. That'll kill a dog
Yeah.
because when we get the peanut butter, we have to because like if we get their peanut butter snacks, I have to
Hmm.
look at each peanut butter to see what does not have that in it
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's in
Yeah, it is. It
it's
is
in the
fatal to
peanut butter.
dogs.
So
Yep.
yeah, if anybody has a dog, look
Hmm.
for xylitol. If it's got it in there, don't get it if you're or don't let your animals near it.
Some of my favorite people are dogs.
Mine too. I miss having dogs. I have 4 cats now. Ugh. And I like cats. Don't get me wrong, but they're monsters. All they do is chase each other around the house
I
all
agree,
day
Thomas.
long and attack each other. And I miss having a dog that'll just lay its head in my lap and let me pet it. And I need another dog
Well,
someday.
Thomas, prayers going up because
Oh yeah.
you're important. You're very important.
Yes, you are.
Mm.
Yep.
We can do hard things, and you can do this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, word has it. This is just unconfirmed rumors, but word has it that somebody has a tanning pool, and then they have another pool that they have for like Wednesdays. That's my Wednesday pool,
You're
and this
so
is
full of crap.
this is my
And then she's got her la-di-da, I'm going to have a glass of wine pool.
yeah. And then unconfirmed rumors, but I put a lot of weight on them that there's like 3 or 4 Biff. What's the guy's name from Sweden? Fabio guys out there.
Fabio.
Oh, fawn me
Fanning
faster.
her with palm
Yeah,
leaves. Yeah.
fan me faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's unconfirmed rumor, but unconfirmed sources say.
I'm
I
going to
will
run with it.
confirm.
I believe
I
you,
will
Ben. I'm going to
confirm
run with it. I'm telling everybody I
that
know.
I just walked in about 45 minutes before we had to be here and had to pull my hair down and put some clothes on, take my swimsuit off. I'm burned again.
I think
But I
that
did my
red is
backside this time.
Yes,
Not
I
lie.
believe we did make some mention about someone feeding her grapes as well. Yes,
Yeah.
we
I
did
fed myself
mention that.
grapes when I come back in because they're a good when you're dehydrated and you have them frozen. I love them like that.
Well, because they're mostly
and point in
water.
fact, I think that red is actually guilt. But again,
Nah,
that's anonymous
guilt
source.
is a useless emotion. Sorry, when I talk about emotions, guilt is the most useless emotion. Everybody has their opinions, but mine is that because you cannot do anything to change what you feel guilty about,
Right.
like whatever
Yeah.
you're feeling. So it's just taking up your time. Don't
Yeah.
feel guilty about it. Go forward and let's
You're
try to find some emotion.
programmed.
Yeah,
It's because
shame
you're
is
domesticated. See?
Yeah,
and shame
I
is
just
a real mind killer.
Yes.
shame is a killer. Okay,
Yeah.
fear and
Yes, it
shame,
is.
but guilt. I've learned a long time ago it does you no good.
Yeah.
It just hurts you.
Fabio's not
Swedish.
Swedish. If he was, I'd
It
be
was-
ashamed of being Swedish.
Norse, okay, Norse. That's what this general.
Oh my god!
Got to be careful with that, Ben. It's like Latinos. What's the old joke? If you call a Puerto Rican, if you call a Puerto Rican a
Come on, Thomas.
Mexican,
They're
they get
talking about
mad.
you.
If you call a Mexican El Salvadoran, they get mad. If you call a Cuban anything other than a Cuban, you'll get stabbed. You gotta be careful.
Oh my boy, we probably got all of them in here. You're joking.
Oh, geez.
No, but guys, I
And
wanted
on
to say
that
thank
note,
you for doing this because everybody,
absolutely.
this thing is going to get so many replays. Red Keelan.
You didn't learn your lesson.
See?
the
I know
first
I'm
time.
You see?
Come on to be after you in a minute.
Hey, ¿qué pasa, loco?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh,
It's
shit.
much
Here we go.
appreciated.
And this is the point where the show came off the rails.
There you go.
Jimena is always listening.
Oh.
Speaking from my own
She's that little
experience,
voice
I
And
in
just
my
there's some
head.
members
prefer.
panel, y'all, coming in the.
I
in the
just
chat. Thank you, Bobby.
I just prefer to breathe
Yes.
in the chaos and just feed the chaos.
Embrace
In through
the
the
chaos.
nose, out the mouth.
Yeah.
TK, that was funny though. That was a good one. I like that
Where he
one.
says, I hurt looking at red Keela. I just burn. I don't tan, but I was beige once.
Mine was about 10. Yeah, I fell asleep that last time on my back, and I had a line. So see, I kind of got rid of that line, so I fell asleep on my stomach today.
Tomas.
Then I turned
No
over.
hard feelings, but I'm from true Viking stock.
Embrace the chaos. That's the first thing. I have to wake up and
All
remind
right,
myself
chaos.
that's just different. You know? Once you
There
embrace
is-
it,
There is
It's-
profit in confusion.
There is. Everybody
Ben,
follow
there's
Mr.
channel.
Ben Bacon Bits on his channel. I hope you guys got something from this. I really had a lot of fun doing it. And
No, I'm glad you did. I mean,
Well,
this
it
is great.
was,
I'm glad you chose that discussion. That was great. John, thank you.
well, I know it
You're
was one of
generous.
those, it's one of those 5 books that you recommend
Yeah.
a lot. And I did see the show with Wounds to Healing. Teresa the other night,
On Tracy, yeah.
and she started talking about it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's really, really the book. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you.
it's not a thick book, it's not a long read, but it's so profound, and I promise you that once you read it, you will find yourself going back to it over and over and over again. And these seem like
Chris,
simple
thank you for
concepts,
being
but they
here.
really can change your life. They really can.
They really
Good
can.
night,
I mean,
Crystal.
to let them.
Mhm.
That's why I always say, thank you, Crystal. That's why I always say, if y'all read the Let Them, it's not just let them, because if you read the book, it's let me.
Yeah.
It's let them, then let me.
So
And
much
that's
of
when
it is
you
about
find
our
out,
own perceptions. Yeah.
right, that what someone thinks about you, what someone says about you, what someone talks about you, it's not your business.
Mhm.
I mean, just simple as that. It's not your business what they think about you.
And I also
What
thought that
your
it
business
would
is, so let them. What my business is let me watch what I react to and how
right.
I react to it. But what they
Exactly.
think about me is none of my business. So let them.
Right. And I just thought, and I also thought that it would be interesting coming from a male perspective, because
Absolutely.
so much of the topics that we talk about are from a female perspective. And,
I didn't really. No, I really enjoyed the. I was back here eating supper. Sorry about that. He brought me in supper.
No, I'm just glad that everybody had a good time with it, because, we laugh and we joke around a lot and we do have a lot of fun, but every once in a while we come across something that is truly life altering. And, I can't say enough good things about this book, because it
That
really,
book is good.
it allows introspection. It's not, I mean, just that phrase, everything is not about you.
That's it.
Once you learn to accept that for what it is, you
Mhm.
realize that so many of the misconceptions and the things that you beat yourself up with on a daily basis are just stemming from that simple fact that you think that when a person says something shitty to you, that it's about you. And it's not about you, it's about
It's
them.
not always about you. That's
Yeah.
exactly
And
right.
once you come to that realization, it can change your entire perspective, honestly.
There's John. There's Teresa. These are in the chat, y'all.
Yes.
I just wanted to get them up there. There's Tiff
Yeah, if you guys can support Teresa.
and Jimena is up there. I gotta get way back up there to find hers.
Yes.
Hang on, Ben. Here we go. There's Ben,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get up here. There's
We need
Jimena's
to get Ben to start being a little more consistent with his content, though.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to work on that.
I've been trying to dig into NDEs, but I'm having problems getting people together.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to watch that, Ben.
And I know you've been
For real.
dealing with a lot of shit, with
Okay.
negative comments and things like that. So hopefully that's slowed down a little bit for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Get back to a normal schedule again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to learn how to. I like this.
Got to learn how to let things slide. Yeah.
I agree.
See, Jimena misses your show too, Ben.
Yep.
I'm not the only one.
I do too.
I miss the lives we used to do together. We used to have a lot of fun.
Oh, look, people
Yeah,
don't pay nearly as much attention to us as we think they do.
It's
I would say,
amazing.
Tiff, I would say anywhere that would go except here on YouTube. There's Deb's channel. Y'all are missing out on that. Everybody, please support each other. Deb,
Jimena, I just want to say that I miss your show too. I think a lot of us do, but we understand.
Yes, definitely.
Take your time and make sure that you're, 100% when you come back. But we miss you. And doing it Deb's way is for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, there's Deb's. And
for those of you who don't know, Deb is kind of new to the community, but she's
y'all don't want to miss her. She's great.
Yeah, she's off to a really good start. And yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you're taking care of yourself, self-care. You need it, honey. But you know that we love you. Just know that, okay? Please.
We're all pulling for you.
Yeah.
Take your time, though. We'll all be here.
Delete Windows.exe. I wonder what this does.
Ben, you didn't.
No.
Holy crap.
That's why we love
So
Ben. We need to
tomorrow
do, Keela, we
Mhm.
need to do a game night. We've been talking about it
we have
forever. We really
yeah.
need to do one.
We
I think
need
everybody needs one.
okay, we will schedule that. Um
Yeah.
we
Maybe
need
like
to
next
do
weekend or something.
yeah, that would be good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to do figure out about this panel for ADHD. I guess I'll put it on the
Yes.
community page and let people just put their name in if they want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
And
good
that way we
idea.
can get it all because it's going to take a minute to get that set up.
Yeah, that's a
As
really
a
good
mod
idea.
and make sure people are backstage and because I
Yeah.
think with that and if there's going to be enough, which I think there will be,
Hmm.
there's enough even in this chat right here. We're going to have to rotate,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's doable. And
Well, you
there's a
have
lot of people.
the premier package, don't you? Can't you
I
have
have
like
the
10 people?
yeah
Yeah.
on stage. Mhm.
Yeah.
Prizes will be
Yeah, there's
tacos.
She
we definitely
she
have more than 10, that's for sure. Prizes will
she
be
has
tacos. Wait a minute. Whoa.
Prizes will be tacos.
she has a tanning pool, so of course,
My tanning pool.
Uh-oh. Tacos. Now I know what I'm having for dinner.
Oh,
And
Jimenez closer to him than we are too. I think.
but she lives in a place that has, actual authentic tacos.
Barbie,
I'm
when you
jealous.
go home, really? Let us show you.
Ben, what
Let us
can go
all show us what
wrong?
can go
Come on,
wrong
try it.
with an ADHD panel.
Look I want an ADHD show, Keela, but 5 on screen will hurt my brain. No, Brazy, there's going to be like 10 on screen. See,
Jimena, you're in for a
Jimena's in
game
for a
night.
game
Good.
night.
Okay.
I knew she
there you
would
go.
be. That's how we get her out.
And Carnival, real
Another
tacos, not the
address.
North
That's
American
for a friend.
version.
Oh,
Jimena and Tomas get the real ones.
yeah, real tacos, not the
And
North American.
tamales.
Well,
Oh my
Mexico
gosh.
is in North America. So,
Oh
Guadalajara,
no, now they're gonna start
Jalisco.
speaking. I might have to get my translator out.
Jalisco. No, she's saying where she lives. Guadalajara, Jalisco. The land of real tacos
I know.
and
Real tamales.
enchiladas. All that good
We
stuff.
will do a game night for self-care, mental health.
Yeah.
And
we'll
that's
even
gonna be fun. And then we'll do the one with the panel for squirrel.
yeah.
We're gonna have to put one determined person that can write down
the designated
lunches.
the designated topic keeper.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick one. I'll have to pick one out of chat.
Well, it ain't gonna be
Keep it up
me.
with me.
The
Oh my
land of
God.
mariachi and tequila. Oof.
Oh, I've had too much of that tequila over there. Ah.
Tequila and tacos. Mm.
Yeah, because I
Personally,
didn't
I
know that
prefer
you can almost
mezcal because it's a
you
little
can mezcal.
smokier.
Yeah, that's all you say.
Yeah, it's
You
got a
can
little
say
more punch.
mezcal or they'll ask you what you want to drink, and we stayed at a resort. My dad had a timeshare before he got killed in a plane crash, but and we let it go. But New Mexico, we had a
mezcal.
timeshare. This was only thing I learned to say was agua and cerveza. I mean,
That's all you need to know.
Beer and bathroom.
That's all you need to know.
No, wait, and baños. Yeah, the bathroom.
Yeah.
All you
oh my
need
God.
all you need is how to insult somebody's mother, and you're good.
Donde
Oh,
está
no.
el sanitario? That's the other one. Where's the bathroom? That's all you need to know.
I was like, I know Spanish, but when you learn Spanish from a book in school, you don't know Spanish.
No.
You know some words.
No.
I'd have to pass the test. So,
the land of las tres hermanas in my avatar.
Okay, so y'all in the chat, and up here. So I'm gonna post it on the community page. If anybody wants to be on the ADHD panel, just comment on the one on the community post, please, so we can get it all together. Squirrels, hamsters, and shit. And don't forget the baby goats.
And the baby goats. Oh, you had me last night with the baby goats. That was
Freaking baby
shit.
15 days I had to hear them things. No.
All you need is cerveza, taco, and baño.
I learned baño and cerveza.
Baño.
And I learned though if you didn't say crap. What's the name of the? You either get not Corona.
Hmm?
Yeah, it's Cerveza or Corona.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was
Cerveza
like,
Corona.
what?
Cerveza, por
Cerveza or
favor,
Corona? And
señora.
I learned Beno and Agua.
Cerveza, por favor,
It was good to see you.
señorita.
Yeah, Corona. That's it. Okay,
Corona,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Cerveza
if you don't
Corona.
say Corona and you just say Cerveza, they're just gonna bring you.
You're just gonna get a generic beer. Yeah.
So I learned to say Corona.
Swedish. I'm from the land of vodka and cinnamon buns. Oh, there you go.
All right,
First
y'all, I
order
have
of
to run
business,
this before we
survival.
end.
Uh-oh. Amanda's ready to party now.
Okay, so I've been not doing this, and I really felt bad about it. So I have to do this because I'm not gonna. I can't believe I need to put it right here. That's how bad this brain fog is. That it's on this laptop over here. I have two big screens right here, but I don't put it where I can see it every time. Brain fog is a real
Oh,
thing.
our closing, yeah.
Yeah, I have to
Very
read, and I haven't
important.
been doing it, and I feel bad. So here it goes, y'all. Growth isn't about changing who you are, but about becoming the best version of yourself.
Wise words from a wise young lady.
20 years old gave me that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep, she sure did. Growth isn't about changing who you are, but about becoming the best version of yourself. Right? I mean, my 20-year-old wrote that.
Wise kid you got. It's a wise kid you got.
Oh, she's in nursing
She
school.
learned from the best.
She is in
Wow.
nursing school. Going to have her BSN next year. Ooh.
Oh, wow. That was quick.
And then she's going for her nurse.
Seems like she just went.
I know.
Seems like
She
she
took all
just
her classes
started.
in high school. I mean, she
Well, that's
literally
true.
took
Yeah,
all her
she got a
classes.
big
She only
jump.
had like, 2 semesters of prerequisites left. That's because they didn't offer that in high school.
Mm,
When she graduated high school, she's
yeah.
state certified as a CNA, a phlebotomist, and can do an EKG. And that was
Wow.
before she graduated.
That was a big leg up.
So can you imagine
Cool.
what she's going to do in nursing? Because she wants to be a nurse practitioner. Very
Oh,
proud of her.
okay.
Yep. She wants to deliver babies.
Oh, wow.
I know. I'm
That's
excited for her.
noble. That's noble. All right.
Okay,
Well,
guys.
I hope you guys
appreciate
all
y'all
had a
for
good
coming.
time. I know I did.
No, you did, and thank y'all both because that was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it.
And you know we're having a good time because Ben even loosened his tie.
I know, right? Hey. Oh, wait. I'm gonna. What'd she say?
She
What
is
is-
so funny. We tried to. I don't know. I think we tried to play up winter, but when she found out how cold it gets and how much snow everybody gets, she was like, "Nah, I'm over it."
You're welcome,
I'm good.
Barbie. Hey, that was the first time in history, of course. Thank you, Barbie. Thank you, Tomas. Really, TKK. Thank you so much. Look, y'all. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
I told y'all that's why we have merch that says I'm tired of living through historical events. Seems like all we've done lately is live through historical events of some kind.
Yeah, we're
And
living through history.
I'm
We
so
really are.
tired of that. And then
Yeah.
Southeast Texas gets a blizzard warning.
Mm-hmm.
First time in history, another historical event, and we lived through a blizzard for 3 days.
Blizzard warning, hurricane warning, hurricane
Hurricanes
warning,
are used to
hurricane warning, tornado
Well,
warning.
that's
It's
not
like,
a big deal.
geez
It's
Louise.
that cold. I don't
Yeah.
How far
Yeah.
north are you? Are you down on the Gulf Coast, or I think you're
Yeah,
higher
she's-
north than
she's
that?
pretty-
No, I'm on.
no,
No, I'm
she-
on the. I'm on the Gulf.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
on.
wow.
She's like right on the
I'm
Gulf.
right before you go into Louisiana
Mm-hmm.
and on the Gulf.
Oh, that explains the accent. Okay.
Yeah, so every time something comes ashore, it just plows into them.
Yeah. To see, our houses are built for that. What they're not built for is that cold ass weather we had a blizzard
Yeah.
out there. All my
They're-
sheetrock split, my crown molding came down, my ceramic tile come off. Yeah.
Mhm.
Your water freeze?
No, we didn't do that. We
No,
left it going.
luckily
That's
her pipes
surprising.
didn't freeze, but
That is
yeah.
surprising.
But everything else fell apart because these houses need humidity.
Mm-hmm.
And when they started expanding back, when it started warming back up, all we had to do is go around to where it didn't fill back in, and most of it did. Except for the
I was
ceramic tile that
shocked.
we had.
I was really shocked. She posted a few videos, Ben, of the
It was
snow.
Yeah, I mean, it just splits apart.
It took
I'm
her
like,
like 2
"You
days
bring me
before she was
freaking
brave
out."
enough to walk outside because she didn't want to slip and break her neck. But she walked outside, and I was like, it looked just like my backyard. I was like,
I
there's
know
no
it's
way this is
freaking a
Texas.
blizzard.
Mm.
This is like the ice was bringing power lines down. I mean, work
had
was
no power.
closed everywhere. It was
Yep.
pretty wild.
Oh, that was wild.
Mm-hmm.
I see how y'all live, but I hope y'all don't ever get back to live through a Cat 5 hurricane.
They're
We
kind
live-
of used to. They're used to it with all the polar bears up there and all that stuff.
Everybody's used
Penguins.
to, the cold, but we're like
We
not
don't
used
have
to
any
the
polar bears in
ice
Detroit.
and
Ben.
snow. Like, I mean, ice every now and then, but that was crazy.
Yeah.
I said it
Pretty
before.
nuts.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. As somebody who works in the geographic information sphere, anything north of the Grand Canyon, it's all permafrost. It's all the same. It's considered Canada.
It's considered Canada.
I mean,
Make it easy.
okay, wait, I got to do the YouTube things. Remember, I got to do this, and I don't like doing this. I hate this, actually.
Well, I said it at the end of mine.
Okay, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment afterwards. Okay, so I keep getting emails from YouTube saying that I have to say that. If you want to like, if you want to subscribe,
Yeah.
please do so. And if you want to come back and leave a comment after it's over, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just do all the YouTubey stuff. Shut up, Ben. I hate
That's
saying
right.
that.
Do all the YouTubey stuff.
I just don't like that. It's like, if you want to subscribe, you're going to subscribe. If
Yeah.
you're not, I mean, it's hard for me to say that. But you
Well,
did send me
you
an
know,
email
it's
that my perks-
self-aggrandizing, and I know you're
No,
not
I got
all
an email
about
that my
that.
perks were under review. I'm like, what
Whoa,
the hell?
what? Wait a minute.
For my memberships. And
Big
then,
house, big heart, big pool, and lots of pots and pans. I've even got a margarita machine. Oh,
TK,
hell
where you
no.
at? I'm coming. Where
And
are
you got four rooms, 3 rooms,
If you don't subscribe, you owe a taco.
3 guest rooms. I'm a retired chef, weight gain. Oh, hell yeah, we're there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We know where the party's at tonight.
We know where the party's at.
Hey, Deb. No, I got an email back saying that, okay, well, the perks are good. Because they check to see if you're actually doing them and all that. And
Mhm.
I'm like, they said, we
You
check
too,
every
Deb.
one. I'm like,
Have a
no,
good
you
night.
don't. Deb, thank you for being here. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you very much.
You'll never guess the email I just got.
Uh-oh, what?
Script for MHM show.
Oh, ain't that a bitch? I sent it to
Oh,
him 2 days
man.
ago, and he just got it.
He just got it. Well, y'all pulled it off brilliant. You can tell.
Y'all, it was all me.
Y'all did it pretty brilliant.
I like Ben as a sidekick. He seems a lot more
Y'all did a
comfortable.
good show together. That's why everybody wanted y'all together.
Yeah, when he doesn't have to carry the show, he's a lot more comfortable. I like him better that way. So
Now, email.
I'll be the host and you can be the sidekick, Ben. How's that?
Well, yeah. Last time I did a show, it was on that.
Eventually, we'll take the training wheels off, though.
that village thing, and it was so early in the morning, and I put a split contacts in. Well, usually my eyes take a little while to adjust. I didn't build in enough time into schedule to handle that. I literally could not read any of my notes. Had to do everything from memory. And of course, the second the show ends, everything goes into focus. Like,
As long as Ben doesn't have to type.
yeah.
They all know.
I am
King of the typo.
God.
That's why I said I can read autocorrect. Just keep going.
Oh, we love you, Ben.
I am the typo god. Gaze upon my marvelous works, ye mighty, and weep in despair.
Well, see, you've learned to embrace it, and that's the good thing.
Don't forget this month. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you think that one person doesn't matter or doesn't count or can't really do anything for the cause, that's not true. Because if you educate one person on what, even just a broad what mental health is, it's physical health. You've got to have your mental health. It's all one body. If you answer one question for them, it does. If you help somebody out that has a mental illness, if you advocate, if you make their voices heard because you're raising it for them, whatever you do, just a simple smile. Remember, everybody's fighting a battle nothing about. Be kind, and kindness is free. And I'm going to tell you, educate, educate, educate. It's time to end the stigma on mental illness.
And for all of you who think that one person can't change the world, just
Yes, you do.
remember that it's the only thing that ever has.
That's right. Thank you, John. Because your voice amplifies everybody else's before.
So on that note,
Yeah.
hope you
And
all
yes,
have a
crazy,
wonderful
we
evening.
all matter, and together is better. It definitely is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
thank y'all so much for
Very
being
true.
here. Thank you, mods. Thank you,
Yes,
everybody.
thank you
Red,
for
respect,
supporting
everything
us,
said.
guys. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
because I'm going to tell you, this is really share some kindness. I like that one. But I'm going to put that post for the ADHD on the as soon as we get off here on the YouTube, on the YouTube community page. And if anybody wants to be on the ADHD panel, please just put your name on there, and we'll get it. Then we'll, after we get the people that want to be in it, then we can nail down a time and a date.
Yeah. Thanks, TK.
And you can also put it in the Facebook group, and John can you get it? You want to put a post on the featured in the Facebook group or no?
Yeah, if you, why don't you
Okay.
put your thing together, and then I'll just I'll copy and paste it into the Facebook
I'll do
group.
that.
So it's
That'll
nice
work.
and consistent.
Yeah, put it on. Hey, Thompson.
Oh.
Put it on the feature. That way you don't get lost.
Hey, Thompson. You'll
Hey,
be
Thompson,
replay
I'm
crew.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were fixing to leave, but I'm glad you're here.
Absolutely.
But thank you guys. That was really, really a good conversation and discussion. And thank you, Jimena. Thank you, Barbie. Thank you. I mean,
Thanks,
everybody. And
Good seeing you
Chronicles,
too.
thank you. Crazy, everybody that's here. I really appreciate it. So on that, y'all, and TK, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Comment.
Y'all
have a good night, you. All right.
Yeah.
Just remember, take care of yourselves, and self-care is care.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll talk.